a word about titles, subtitles, title cards, and accessibility. If my video editing software lets me add subtitles, I haven't figured out how to do that yet. But I know that if one is hearing impaired, even audio quality that sounds fine to me may mean that the bulk of the message is lost to someone who is hearing impaired, who hears differently. I wish I knew how to subtitle, but I don't. But I think that if I add title cards, that helps a bit in terms of preparing what I am about to say. I think that helps both the people who can hear and the people who hear differently. And if you find it distracting, it only lasts a moment or two for the title card. So I'm hoping that it's helpful, or at least minimally distracting. How are we to interpret this gospel? What do we do with the idea of evil spirits, demonic spirits? We are people who believe in science. We are, most of us, I'm guessing, people who would not believe in evil spirits. Not the traditional kind of evil spirits, as in The Exorcist. We are people who believe that science can heal us. What does a modern sensibility do with a gospel text about a Savior who casts out demons? Here we see Jesus in the early days of his ministry, claiming his authority, casting out demons. This shows Jesus uniquely authorized, casting out demons that others have not been able to cast out. And Jesus gives us a glimpse of the reign of God. The reign of God comes in, breaks the old boundaries, liberates people from the powers that afflict them. It's about announcing God's intentions for the world, even if that means some of our beloved traditions must die or be cast away. In her book, Preaching Mark, Bonnie Bowman Thurston, a New Testament scholar, points out that the person who had demons was cast out of the worshiping community. And what that meant in the time of Jesus was that meant that the person was cast away, not just from the community itself, but also from the presence of God. So we might think about this text in terms of what is keeping us out of both our community and what is keeping us out of the presence of God. What are the modern forces that drive us mad? What are the modern demons that possess us? Is it wishing that we had what other people have? Is it wishing that we had a boat, that we had the time and the money to eat out? Is it wishing we had a condo by the beach? Is it wishing that we had friends who would come out with us on a beautiful day with glorious weather? What are our modern demons pushing us onward, letting us never get any rest? Maybe a way of thinking about what possesses us these days is the ever eternal presence of our screens and our devices that keep us connected. In a way, it's great to be connected this way. For many of us, this past year would have been much lonelier without these electronic connections. But they can also be ways that keep us apart from each other, ways that keep us from connecting fully. They can keep us from getting a good night's sleep. They can keep us from being present to each other even when we are there physically in the presence of each other. You've probably had that kind of encounter where you're having lunch with people who are all busily tapping away on their phones, texting other people who aren't there. That's not the kind of connection that God dreams of for us. And many of us, that's not the kind of connection we want. We want people to be there, present, tuned in, paying attention to us. And a lot of times our electronics get in the way of that. Maybe we are possessed by our never-ending to-do lists. All the work that's always there, never finished, never complete. Work at work, work at school, work at home, work, 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 work. We live in a world of political divides too. I think the past 4 years or the past 20 years or the past 50 years have been ones where our politics have divided us more than they've united us, where families can no longer be together without having political fights, where friends have become unfriendly to each other, where relationships have been ripped apart by the caustic political climate. I would argue that that is a form of possession and ripping apart of community that we see in our day. It was probably also present in the days of Jesus. Jesus lived in a highly stratified society, and there was lots of political dissent. So Jesus would have been familiar with that kind of separation one from another too. And I could make an argument that the demons that Jesus healed and cast out are the ones that keep people apart from each other. Then again, maybe we are demon possessed. Many of us are hearing voices in our head. And while they may not be demons the way the ancients understood them, they can certainly be loud, they can certainly be ruinous. Many of us hear voices that tell us that we're old, that we're used up, that we're no good, that our best days are behind us, that once we were attractive, but now we're just brittle things by the side of the road that nobody wants. Many of us are familiar with that voice. It may come from society, it may come from childhood, it may come from unhealthy relationships, it may come from something deep-seated and deep-rooted. But know this, if you hear that voice that tells you you're no good, that is not the voice of God. Jesus is here to tell us again and again and again, from the beginning of his ministry until the end, that the way things are, the way things have been, doesn't mean that they always have to be. Jesus is here to announce that God has a much bigger vision for us, a much better vision for us. And it's begun already, but it's not yet fulfilled.